Time to get ready for your day with the morning warm-up with Trey Lyle. Join us live on VTRN Sports 93.3 FM or the VTRN Sports app. Open VTRN Sports on your smart speaker or stream live on YouTube. Time to get ready for your day with the morning warm-up with Trey Lyle and Ty Tracy.
7:03 on this Tuesday, March 11th. Today's truly the kickoff of conference tournament week because we're going to have conference tournaments games starting at noon today and going all day. I mean, you have the Big 12 tournament kicking off today in Kansas City, the ACC tournament kicking off today in Charlotte. Tomorrow, I think the Big 10 and the SEC kickoff. It's going to be a fun day. And then also you have the WCC final tonight, which, of course, you can listen to right here on VTRN Sports. So it's going to be a fun day here on VTRN Sports. And starting with the morning warm-up, Ty, we have a lot of NFL moves to go over. So let's get to In Case You Missed It.
Keeping up with sports 24/7 takes some serious effort, especially when you're sleeping. Don't worry, the morning warm-up stays alert around the clock. Now here is everything you missed last night.
So we're going to start with all the NFL moves first, and then I'll get to two other headlines. These are not even all of them, but these are the notable ones. So this one definitely happened last night as you were sleeping. Chargers signed former Steelers running back Najee Harris, 1 year, $9.5 million deal. Saints are re-signing former Commanders Chase, number 2 overall pick Chase Young, 3 years, $51 million. Panthers sign, so he's staying locally. Signed Trishan Wharton, 3 years, $54 million, $30 million guaranteed. In a wild sequence, the Bears signed Grady Jarrett on the same day he's released by the Falcons. Well, technically he's not signed yet. He's going to sign with the Bears. 3 years, $43.5 million, $28.5 million guarantee. The Bears are building through the offensive line and defensive line, which means my Caleb Williams agenda is back, Ty Tracy, because they also signed the best available center, Drew Dalman from the Falcons. 3 years, $42 million, $28 million guaranteed. So they had 2 good tackles. They completely rebuilt their interior offensive line with Joe Thuney, Jonah Jackson, and Drew Dalman. They add one of the better defensive tackles in the league, Grady Jarrett. Very nice for me. The Eagles, and this happened while we were on the air yesterday, but I wanted to reiterate it. The Eagles and the Browns have swapped backup quarterbacks, really third string quarterback for the Eagles because I'm on that Tanner McKee agenda. But Eagles get Dorian Thompson-Robinson and a 2025 fifth-round pick, while the Browns get Kenny Pickett, which I think Kenny Pickett is currently the favorite to start for the Cleveland Browns right now, in an ironic thing, because he would technically be playing on his fifth. Would be his 4th year in the league.
I think so.
No, it'd be his 5th year in the league because he was in the 2020 class.
Was it 2020?
It was the 2020 draft. No, it was the 21 draft. So his first season would have been he played in the 2020 football. No. All right, let me look this up.
I was about to say he's not that old. He's like young still. He ain't been there like.
Well, he's not. He was a 700-year.
Senior.
Yeah, he was in. So yeah, it was the 2022 draft.
I was about to say.
Yeah, so the 2022 draft. So this would be his 4th season. All right, sorry. This is supposed to be quick, and then we get off track. Former Eagle Josh Sweat, who had a really good Super Bowl, signs with the Cardinals, and his boy Johnny Gantz, 4 years, $764.4 million, $41 million guaranteed. Panthers signed I messed up. Panthers were going to sign Milton Williams, but then the Patriots said, "Here's more money." So he is former Eagles signing with the Patriots, 4 years, $104 million, $63 million. I think they made him the 3rd highest paid defensive tackle in the league.
I mean, that's a good move by Mike Vrabel.
Milton's a stud. I think Milton I will say this: be careful signing a guy who plays next to like the best.
Mm-hmm.
And Milton Williams did get to start his career playing next to a potential Hall of Famer, Fletcher Cox, and then Jalen Carter, but Milton's a really good player. I think he was an underrated player on the Eagles defense throughout the years, and it kind of showed in that Super Bowl how good he is.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to get to all the quarterback moves in a second and what the Commanders did. But also it is announced that Cooper Kupp from the Rams, who was he announced, I think it was like either the day after or the day before the Super Bowl or Super Bowl week, that he was going to get traded by LA. Well, they couldn't find a partner, so he gets cut. And to me, a more shocking cut, Kyle Juszczyk, who I think is an underrated part of that 49ers offense, also announced he's getting released. All right, so we have the quarterbacks to talk about. The two big quarterback moves. The Seattle Seahawks signed Sam Darnold, 3 years, $100.5 million, $55 million guaranteed. As soon as Geno got traded, it seemed like Darnold was destined for the Seahawks. And then Justin Fields makes his decision. And I think in part, it's if he was not bent, the Seahawks or the Seattle, if Pittsburgh didn't handle the Justin Fields like they did last year, I think he would be a Pittsburgh Steeler, but they didn't. Jets signed, so he is going to New York. Jets signed him to a 2-year, $40 million deal, $30 million guaranteed. I actually like that deal. I think Justin Fields reunites with his college teammate Garrett Wilson, and I like that move for the Jets. We'll see with Sam Darnold. I think they downgraded at quarterback from Geno to Sam Darnold. Sam Darnold is like, and again, I feel like I'm going to disrespect JSN. I like JSN. And if you don't know who I'm referring to, JSN is Jackson Smith and Jigba, but saying that 5 times in a conversation makes it hard, so you just call him JSN. But he's gonna be like, "Where's Justin Jefferson? Why is this so hard? I just throw it deep, and the guy's not." So we'll see. Clint Kubiak's the OC. He's worked with Clint Kubiak. We'll see if Darnold this could be a good move for Darnold. Seattle's. I don't know what the Seahawks are doing. I think they're just hitting the reset button. They do it with Darnold. They give kind of stability at quarterback till they can find their guy.
Yeah.
I don't know if Darnold's the long-term answer. As for the Jets, same kind of deal to a lesser degree. I think Fields could be their long-term answer. He has the talent.
Mm-hmm.
Just honestly, it felt like he never got the opportunity. And I think the Bears had to trade him, pick Caleb over him because Caleb is more talented. And I would always go for the more talented guy. But we'll see. I think for this, something about Aaron Glenn makes me think this might work. And then Fields' relationship with Garrett Wilson makes me think this might be a sneaky good move for the Jets. But those are the two quarterback moves. And we'll react to them in 1 second, Ty. And then let me get to what the Commanders did. And we'll react to that. So first, early in the day, they signed Javon Kinlaw, the former first-round pick of, you want to guess what team? The 49ers. You know who was part of the personnel offense? Adam Peters. Mm-hmm. See how it all connects?
Mm-hmm.
3 years, $45 million, $30 million guarantee. I think that's a little bit of an overpay for a guy who has been underperforming. And then the big deal, they get the left tackle, Laramie Tunsil. Commanders get Laramie Tunsil in a 2025 4th-round pick. They send to Houston a 3rd, a 7th in this year's draft, and a 2nd and a 4th in next year's draft. So, Ty, we'll talk Commanders first, and then we'll go back to the quarterbacks, which we kind of touched on. I have 2 big concerns. Kinlaw, I don't like getting players that good teams want to get rid of.
Yeah.
It's a bad sign.
Mm-hmm.
Like, this is different than Milton Williams and Josh Sweat.
Yeah.
They just couldn't. Like, in free agency, to me, it's different because sometimes teams just can't afford players. But when teams actively get rid of players, I get nervous about it. And I could say the same thing about Grady Jarrett, because I praised that literally like 5 minutes ago.
Mm-hmm.
And it's more of with Grady Jarrett. Like, again, there's a difference between a cap casualty and a team wanting to get rid of a player. Because I think if the Falcons could, they would keep Grady Jarrett, which I guess they could technically. So maybe I should be nervous about Grady Jarrett too. Throw him in there too. But with these 2 cases in particular, Tunsil is a great player. Or let me rephrase that. Is a very talented player that has shown, Pro Bowl upside.
Mm-hmm.
But 2 things. 1, he did not stay healthy. He has not stayed healthy through a majority of his career. And 2, he was the most penalized player in the NFL last year.
Yeah, he was.
So those 2 things concern me. In a team, here's another thing, especially in Houston. Houston has a quarterback on a rookie deal. They theoretically, from a cap point of view, did not need to get rid of Laramie Tunsil.
Yeah.
So that makes me nervous. And this is Tunsil's now 3rd team. Kinlaw, the 49ers got rid of him to the Jets. And then the Jets get him. Jets don't re-sign him. He's been underperforming. I think it's an overpay. Granted, with this cap changes, I am not I've given up on saying at first I thought it was an overpay, and then someone was like, well, with the cap going up, you really don't know. And that's a good point. This cap going up, it's probably 1% of 2. It's this cap, it makes the NBA there's sometimes these bench guys, they'll get 2 years, $50 million or something crazy. And it's why is insert NBA bench guy getting $25 million? It's that's nuts. It's just, but interesting. Well, you know what? We'll break those down. But Ty, what do you think of those 2 moves till we get to the rest of it in case you missed it?
Interesting, but had me thinking, like you said, had me a little concerned. I feel like this could be his rebounding year, depends. But I think the Commanders had a little faith in him, so they feel like he can.
Which player, Kinlaw?
Kinlaw.
Okay.
So I think they feel like he could have a rebound.
And Adam Peters knows him because he was part of the team that drafted him.
Definitely. So they feel like he still got talent and he got potential to be a good player. That's why they signed him. So I think this year would be a rebounding year for him.
My only thing is you're paying him more than you'd pay, and he's younger than Jonathan Allen.
Yeah.
But you would pay Jonathan Allen less. And I'd rather have Jonathan Allen.
Yeah, but the only thing, like you said, is age. He's younger than him. And, Jonathan Allen is getting up there. So it's they had to make a sacrifice.
So we can get to the quarterback thing once the Rodgers thing gets settled, and we'll just do a whole quarterback overview because we have Geno, these numbers are ridiculous. Justin Fields 2 years, 40 is getting $20 million a year.
I mean,
but I get it. I've given up on overpay. It's typically an overpay in free agency and with the cap. I mean, Milton Williams getting $104 million is insane. All right. In case you missed it, we'll get to 2 other headlines before we get to score. We're going to do scores first. How about the Hornets? 105-102. My Miami Heat over the Heat. My Miami Heat, Ty, I think are going to be in the Cooper Flag business before you know it. I'm just starting to feel. Speaking of teams, Ed's 76ers 123, lose to the Hawks 132. I think that's what they're doing right now. Hey, you know who'd be great for the Dallas Mavericks right now? Quentin Grimes, who they traded. Another player they traded, dropped 35 last night. It'd be nice to have a good ball handler for the team. You know who's also a great ball handler? Luka Doncic. He's a great ball handler. He has a triple-double last night. Actually, the Lakers did lose to the Nets in the first game without LeBron, 111-108. They've dropped back-to-back games. I'm not really concerned about the Lakers right now. They're the 3rd team in the West. I think if they maintain the top 3 seeds, they'll be okay. Celtics, they cruise over the Jazz, 114-108. I think that it just shows how good the Celtics are when Sam Hauser leads the way with 33 points and they win. It's a pretty good team. Raptors 119 over the Washington Wizards. Wizards getting the job done. Lose it again. 119-104. Wizards 13-50. That's their goal, man. We're going to talk about why their goal is that because we're going to talk about the ACC tournament in Cooper Flag. Bulls 121, Pacers 103, Rockets 97, Magic 84, Grizzlies 120, Suns 118. And Kevin Durant got kicked out of this game because he got in a fight with air quotes around that. Desmond Bane in the rematch of the game on Sunday, Nuggets 140, Thunder 127. After SGA makes his MVP statement, Jokic backs it up with a 35, 18, and 8, making his MVP statement. And how about the Mavs? 133, 129. They win. Congrats, Dallas. I feel bad for their fans.
They still go suffer.
I mean, they're facing a tanking team right now because the Spurs have flipped to a tanking team.
Yeah.
The Warriors are really good right now. 130, 120 over the Trailblazers. Knicks 133, 104. A couple notable men's basketball scores from last night. I'll I'm looking at conference finals. Troy, after that win against JMU, defeats Arkansas State 94-81 to punch their ticket to the NCAA tournament. And how about this? The Fighting Mike Youngs. Wofford 92, Furman 85. Wofford wins the SoCon. And then it sets up a lot of fun conference tournament finals we'll get to tonight that we'll have on VTRN Sports, a part of the ACC tournament as well, which we'll pick in the second segment. We have Dalton Hopkins in the third segment. All right, other headlines for you. The ACC announced their first team. Ed went over the Conference USA first team yesterday during the Fast Lane, but the ACC awards came out yesterday, and we broke the news that Cooper Flagg was the player of the year. Pretends to be shocked. He was also the rookie of the year. Pretends to be shocked. Chucky Hepburn was the defensive player of the year, and coach of the year was Pat Kelsey at Louisville. Pat Kelsey should be the national coach of the year. First team was Flagg, Maximum Ragoon from Stanford, Chucky Hepburn from Louisville, Chase Hunter from Clemson, and Hunter Salas from Wake. And no Virginia Tech and Virginia players made any of the teams. So not shocked. Not shocked there. Other headline news. I think this is really good for the A-10, which I said yesterday. I think is quickly becoming the best mid-major program, best mid-major conference. I don't count the Big East. Warrior Steph Curry has accepted a role as alma mater. Davidson, as an assistant general manager for basketball programs, University told ESPN Curry becomes the first active player taking administration. So I think this is a glossy way of he's going to help fund the NIL program for Davidson. James Harden is actually doing the same thing at Arizona State, which will be interesting. Yeah, this is not shocking. I mean, I think we're going to see more of this as NIL. This is a creative way to get NIL in Davidson, and I think this is going to be interesting because I think Davidson is going to be really big for David and big for the A-10.
Yeah.
Because if you increase the resources at one program, it forces the other schools, i.e. VCU, too. Now, some sad music. Ty, I'm very sad. Can you bump it down a little bit so they can hear me? And I know this is the morning and this might make someone fall asleep, but I'm very sad. New York Yankees right-hander Garrett Cole will undergo Tommy John surgery, the team announced, ending his 2025 season before it began and leaving the club without its ace, and he probably won't play the start of next season.
Sorry to hear that, buddy. I will give you a hug, but I'm over here, so I don't think so.
Well, it could be worse. I could be a Mavericks fan. All right, when we come back, we got a lot to go over in the second segment because we got the man, the myth, the legend, Dalton Hopkins in the third. So we're gonna have Dalton Hopkins a little bit later on in the show, talk NASCAR. We're gonna pick the ACC tournament. We're gonna pick the Conference USA tournament on the men's side. We also, because they kick off, technically they kick off today.
Mm-hmm.
We're also going to do Today in Sports History. So this is the morning warm-up right here on VTRN Sports 721.
Mark Dalton here with Terry Volkswagen. Get ready to fall head over heels for the perfect VW SUV. One size doesn't fit all, though, and that's why Volkswagen has an SUV for everyone. From the compact and affordable Volkswagen Taos to the tech-packed Tiguan and the spacious Volkswagen Atlas. No matter which one fits your lifestyle, you'll love the comfort, performance, and safety. Stop by Terry Volkswagen on Forest Road in Lynchburg or check us out online at terrybw.com. Terry Volkswagen. You'll love our cars.
When you're voted one of the best plumbers according to Lynchburg Living magazine, you want to hire the best. Sullivan Plumbing wants the best plumbers to join our award-winning team. Do you have a clean driving record? Do you have at least 4 years plumbing experience? Then you're a 5-star recruit, and Sullivan Plumbing would love to meet with you. Take the first step. Call Sullivan Plumbing in downtown Lynchburg or email sullivanplumbing@gmail.com.
Allstate agent Donovan Howell is now serving Lynchburg. He lives and works here just like you. And with all kinds of local insurance advice, Donovan is someone you can count on to help you protect all that's good in your life. Donovan makes it easy to save on the quality protection you need, and I'll even help you do the switching and the paperwork for you.
Call or come by the Donovan Howell Allstate office in Windhurst today.
When the thrill of playing ball turns into the agony of a broken windshield or car window, contact Apple Auto Glass. Your local auto glass repair shop on Allegheny Avenue in Lynchburg, Apple Auto Glass provide a professional assessment with the honesty from your neighbors, so you can get back to sharing the great moments this season. We're here with Colt from We Fix Stupid Computers. Colt, to go along with your residential or individual walk-in services that you offer, you also do a lot of business IT support. How about you discuss that, and what specifically do you do to help businesses in the area?
We see a lot of that. Small to medium-sized businesses, they still have their IT projects. They still need resources to help them within their office and for remote users. And so we'll step in and fill in the gap where we do a lot of projects for them, help them manage their resources, their budgets, and get their technology under control.
Colt, how can these people reach out to you to assess their IT needs?
Call us. Our number is 434-525-8590. Our website, wefixstupidcomputers.com. We're on Facebook. And our office is here locally, 14690 Forest Road, right next to Scott's Cabinet on 221.
Head to lynchburg-hillcats.com to lock in your tickets for the Lynchburg Hillcats this season. Now here's VTR in Sports.
Good morning. We are just getting your day started here on VTRN Sports with the morning warm-up. Stay connected with the show at Trey Lyle VT and Ty Tracy 90 on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Listen wherever you are with the VTRN Sports app, or watch the show live on YouTube at youtube.com/VTRN Sports Lynchburg. Now, back to the morning warm-up.
7:25 on this March 11th. And just to so you folks know, I'm still very sad about Garrett Cole, and I will be. Now, if the Yankees get Sandy Alcantara, I'll feel a little bit better. Do you know he won a Cy Young for the Marlins? He's a really good pitcher, but I don't think that will happen. All right, scheduled today on VTRN Sports is a doozy. Starting with ACC men's basketball, 4:00 airtime. Zach Mackey on the call as California takes on Virginia Tech. Yeah, that's weird to say in the ACC. That's so weird. Cal versus Tech, Virginia Tech in the ACC tournament.
Who?
And guess what? The winner takes on Stanford. We'll pick that in a second. We possibly will have Virginia Tech baseball. It just depends on when the Tech game ends, because that will lead right into the conference. The back in my day, this was in the CAA championship. Was in Richmond. It's not anymore. It's now in DC. Delaware, which, by the way, shout out to Delaware, 16-19 on the season. They're 5-13 in CAA play, and they're now one win away from the conference from the NCAA tournament. So they will, if they win, they'll be a 16 seed. But they're going to take on UNC Wilmington in the CAA final. And then I think this might be the underrated game of the entire week. Two really good teams, Gonzaga, St. Mary's, the WCC final out in Vegas is our nightcap here on VTRN Sports. So we're going to have plenty of college basketball for you throughout the week. So stick to right here on VTRN Sports for you. Of course, today kicks off the ACC tournament, and I believe today also kicks off the Conference USA tournament. Liberty plays tomorrow as well. So we'll pick those in a moment. Going back to the In Case You Missed It segment, we touched on the Commanders' moves. We touched on everything, but the quarterbacks now, Ty. This leads to, I wanted to add one more note. I think this leads to now it appears that Aaron Rodgers will be a what's his name? Will be a Steeler. Oh, you know what? I did forget a quarterback move. Zach Wilson signed with the Dolphins. Get excited.
Oh, Lord.
But yeah. All right, Ty. I'm gonna let you run. This is me giving you an assist here as I pull up the soundboard. Would you rather you want to see if you can get today in sports history, or you want to make our picks?
Let's do sports history.
All right, here we go.
Iguodala to Curry, back to Iguodala, up for the layup. Oh, blocked by James.
Many doubted we'd ever see it, but here it is. The return to glory.
It's time for Today in Sports History.
Seconds left in the game. You believe in miracles? Yes! Unbelievable.
They go length of the court with Archidiakono. 3 seconds at midcourt. Jenkins gives it to Jenkins for the championship.
Let's hear what Ty really knows about what happened on this day in sports history.
On this date in 1986, the NFL adopted this. It's a tool that has been used to help. See, if I say that,
The chains?
No, the chains were part of football before that. To help officials.
You said what?
To help officials. It was a tool.
Play review? Replay?
Yes, instant replay.
Same thing.
So when it was first adopted, it was by a 23-4-1 vote. 21 votes at the time were needed to pass in the NFL. It was all upstairs. There was no coaches' challenges, and the technology was not as elite as it is today. And the only reviewable plays at first were plays of possession, so fumbles, interceptions, receptions, muff, or an ineligible player touching a forward pass. Most players were governed by the sideline, goal lines, in-lines, and the line of scrimmage, and in easily detectable infractions on replay, so i.e. too many men on the field. It was actually after a spirited debate that this passed. So obviously, it is now grown to what it is today.
I mean, some of them suck anyway, so.
Dang, okay, Ty. And I think it's even going to have an increase. All right. If I give you the year, this gives it away. Nah, okay. But on this date, I think one of the biggest moments in sports happened when a French center tested positive for COVID-19. So name the center and then name what happened.
I hate this man so much, Rudy Gobert. I hate that man so much.
So what happened on this date?
He got tested for positive and he sprayed around the locker room
and what happened?
The league shut down.
There we go. That's what I was looking. So
I can't stand that.
I can't
man.
believe it's been 5. Crazy part, it's been 5 years. So in 2020, the NBA, because if I said what happened on this date in 2020, that would have given you the answer. I was trying to figure out this is like the perfect one to ask.
I can't stand him.
But 2020 happened. That was the weird. So the next day is when like the ACC tournament shut down, like everything else shut down.
No NCAA tournament.
UCLA, and
it was
the weird part is, and we can talk, I guess, more about this tomorrow, which hint might be your question. Like I remember a game in the Big East tournament played. They played the first half.
Yeah,
I don't even remember. I
think they stopped.
They stopped at halftime. So the 2020 Big East tournament had a game. It was Creighton and St. John's. It was canceled at halftime. Actually, St. John's was leading 38-35 at the time. I remember watching that. So this was when I lived in Kansas. And I'm texting with someone. And I'm like, and it was when Kansas State basketball tournaments were going on.
Mm-hmm.
I was texting with someone I worked with. And we were in an actual argument of, I think they're going to cancel these games. Like not like everything. Because I was starting to list. I was like, they stopped the NBA last night. Because I remember watching SportsCenter that night. Like this was a rare time to watch SportsCenter now. Like the only SportsCenter I watch is the SVP one.
Yeah.
But like remember watching SportsCenter and it's like you have. I want to say it's like it might have been Windhorst. It was some NBA reporter. It was either like Windhorst or like Tim Bontemps.
I think
in Oklahoma City,
mm-hmm.
like saying they've sequestered the teams in their locker rooms. They're trying to find COVID tests. Like, and then like 5 minutes later, it's like, and like the NBA suspended its season. And like you have the shot of Mark Cuban, the then owner of the Dallas Mavericks, like looking at his phone as Woj tweets out the season is suspended, and in shock. It was the craziest moment like I've ever
no sports
because like all of a sudden everyth's done. Like nothing is happening. and you're like,
minus football though.
well, because football wasn't happening.
Yeah, I
in
know. I
March.
was like minus football. They were just like
Because it came back, and then the bubble happened, and then LeBron, the GOAT, won his fourth title. But that definitely was like wild. It all started because Rudy Gobert tested positive, and like I felt bad for Rudy because there's that shot of like I think they asked Rudy like, how are you feeling? He's like, I'm feeling sick, and he like thinks he's joking, and he touches all the microphones. The next day he has COVID, and he's like, oh,
yeah, he messed up.
Bleeped up.
Yeah, because I ain't gonna lie. Right when he walked out, I probably would have punched him.
Ryan does not like Rudy Gobert.
I really don't like that man. Like, I don't know why. I'm with Draymond.
To be fair to Rudy Gobert, I think Rudy Gobert, like, it would have been any NBA player. I think the season was going to get suspended no matter what.
I mean, either way, I'm like with Draymond. Like, put him in a chokehold. I probably would tackle him on the court. I can't stand him. I really can't stand that man. I don't know why. He makes me mad when I look at him.
So you hate the Timberwolves?
No, I don't hate the Timberwolves. I just hate him.
Got it. But I just need a minute to just process what you just said to me. But and we won't ask. Like, this is, I think, a two-parter. But this is when it started. And the next day is when, it was the next day. Because I will never forget this. I'll never forget watching ESPN at work, and Jay Billis is on there talking about like the NCAA tournament, the ACC tournament being canceled, and Jim Phillips does this awkward presentation with because Florida State was the 1 seed in the ACC tournament. This awkward because I think Florida State was actually about to play because it was the second day of the ACC tournament.
I think so, yeah.
So Florida State was about to play. Or the third day of the ACC tournament, whatever. I know Florida State was about to play because Florida State wasn't wearing they were in their uniforms. Like in the ACC tournament, the teams warmed up and then they got sent to the back and then they canceled the tournament. Because what happened is I think the NCAA came out and we're canceling the tournament, and then the conferences were like, well, I guess we got to cancel ours.
Yeah.
And from what I remember, but I bring this up because I remember watching Jay Billis talk, and all I see in the background is David Cunningham. And shout out to David Cunningham because he got like a solid 5 minutes because he's on the court, like they got all the media on the court to do this weird presentation of Florida State because technically Florida State won the 2020 conference tournament. Technically, because they were the 1 seed. Because Jim Phillips comes out there and says, since they're our 1 seed, we're declaring them like. It was so weird. And then I also remember watching the first half, and like the guys are reacting to it. And I think the Big East came out and said, yeah, we're not having the rest of this tournament, like with a minute left at half, and they're like still playing. It was so weird. It was definitely the weirdest time. I got why it happened. And then that Saturday, NASCAR does, like, the team show up to Atlanta, and it's like, then they realize, oh, we're not having this race. It was so wild how quickly everything kind of just like stopped.
Yeah.
The world stopped. And it happened in sports. And there's a couple of documentaries out here about it. But
I'll say it was more funny with college football, who had only 6 or 5 games and they made it to the championship.
It was Ohio State.
Yeah, I was like, I never seen that before.
Ironically, Justin Fields and Garrett.
Yeah, and Garrett Wilson.
Yeah, so. But what a weird time. At
least he pushed the Last Dance up though, make us watch it. Was
yeah,
nothing on.
I mean,
I know Ed was enjoying it too.
He probably. I mean, it was good. I enjoyed the Last
I know.
Dance.
I did too. I know Ed was happy.
Like, see, unlike people who go for Jordan, I don't have to bash Michael Jordan to pick LeBron James as my GOAT. Okay. I don't have to be Skip Bayless up here, okay? Which, by the way, apparently Skip on his last podcast had Stephen A.
I was excited seeing them back together.
Which funny how LeBron goes after Stephen A. and then all of a sudden Skip's out here like, hey, I got Stephen A. on my podcast. Funny how those things work out. But weird time. Weird time. All right. Quickly, Ty, let's do this. Our picks
Cool.
for the ACC and the Conference USA tournament. Starting with Conference USA, I'm going to quick quarterfinal. You ready? I'm going to tell you the two teams. I have UTEP and Western Kentucky advancing from the play-in, but I have neither of them winning. So I have Liberty and Jacksonville State tomorrow winning.
Yeah.
And then I have Kennesaw and Middle Tennessee winning Thursday. So my semis are Liberty, Kennesaw, Jacksonville State, Middle. Do you have the same thing?
Liberty, Kennesaw State, Jacksonville, and Middle Tennessee.
And then I have Liberty and Middle as the final. It's more because I think Middle has won 2 straight of these, and they're used to winning conference tournament games.
Yep.
So that's why I think they beat Jacksonville State. And then I have Liberty winning. I have Liberty winning the conference tournament.
Yeah, I do too.
Okay. ACC tournament. How far do you have Virginia Tech?
I got them making it past the first round.
I have them in the quarterfinals playing Louisville, so I've been beating Cal and Stanford.
I got them losing to Stanford.
Okay. So we'll start in the corners. How far do you have Virginia?
I got Duke, UVA, Wake Forest, UNC.
Okay, I have the same thing. So Duke, UVA, Wake, UNC, and then we're different at Louisville. You have Louisville, Stanford. I have Louisville, Virginia Tech. And then I have Clemson, SMU.
Yeah.
All right. I think we all have the same semis, is my guess. Duke,
UNC.
Carolina,
Yep.
Louisville, Clemson.
Yep.
Then I have Duke, Clemson as my final.
I got Duke, Clemson as well.
And then I have Duke winning it all.
I got Duke winning it.
So I think Duke's a better team. Here's the thing. Clemson has like the 4th best odds to win the ACC.
Yeah.
It's like plus 650.
Mhm.
That's the bet I would make.
Yeah.
Because I think because Clemson's already beaten Duke, so we know it can happen. And I think Clemson's a really good team. So betting wise, I'd bet Clemson to win the ACC because the value. Duke's at minus odds. I wouldn't bet Duke. I think Duke's like what I would do is I would bet Duke like when Duke gets to the final because I think Duke will get to the final. And if they're playing Clemson, just bet Duke to cover against Clemson or bet Duke to win that game because the odds are probably going to be about the same.
Yeah.
It's probably going to be like they'll probably be like 6.5 point favorites at minus 110. I think they're minus 130 to win it all. So you might as well, the way to hedge it would be bet Duke to cover against Clemson. And that's how I would handle that from a betting point of view. All right. When we come back, this man is a legend. Dalton Hopkins at Pit Lane CPT on Twitter. My happy hour co-host joins us next here on the morning warm-up. It is 7:41 here on this Tuesday, March 11th.
We are making it happen at the Used Car Superstore on the Sheeler Motor Mile, your premier used car dealer serving Southwest Virginia and surrounding areas for over 50 years with the best selection, value, finance options, and exceptional service. Plus 900 pre-owned vehicles all in one location. Volume selling means volume pricing, and we've got the volume. The Used Car Superstore is your one-stop for most makes and models. Cars, trucks, vans, SUVs. Many have miles in the teens, remaining factory warranties, and some are even local one-owner vehicles. Plus, Sheeler owns the finance company. Getting approved for credit is easy on the Motor Mile with finance options for every budget. 900 used vehicles in stock now. More than any other dealer in the area. Hurry in for straightforward pricing and more inventory arriving daily. Why wait? Make it happen at the Used Car Superstore on the Sheeler Motor Mile, your premier family-owned car dealer serving Southwest Virginia and surrounding areas for 50 years. I-81 exit 118C in Christiansburg. Call 866-SHEELER1. Always open at Sheeler.com.
When you're voted one of the best plumbers according to Lynchburg Living magazine, you want to hire the best. Sullivan Plumbing wants the best plumbers to join our award-winning team. Do you have a clean driving record? Do you have at least 4 years plumbing experience? Then you're a 5-star recruit, and Sullivan Plumbing would love to meet with you. Take the first step. Call Sullivan Plumbing in downtown Lynchburg or email sullivanplumbing@gmail.com.
When shopping for auto insurance, it's worth paying a little bit more for strong coverage against uninsured drivers. That way, if you're on the wrong end of an accident, you and your family are protected from drivers with little to no insurance. Hi, I'm Randy Trost with Trost Law. Just a friendly reminder that saying yes to a strong policy with higher uninsured motorist coverage limits is a small investment that you can make to protect you and your family against a big headache. If you've been injured in a motor vehicle accident, call us at 777-HURT or visit trostlaw.com.
Imagine a community where every homeowner feels heard and valued.
That's the feeling you deserve, and that's the feeling you'll get
at Brownstone Properties. Our dedicated team is here to support you, ensuring clear communication and proactive solutions. Transform your homeowners associations. Call Brownstone Properties today for a free consultation. Brownstoneproperties.com and 3720 Old Forest Road in Lynchburg. Let's build a better community together.
Do you have a sports card and memorabilia collection?
Wow.
Did you inherit one? Not sure what to do with it? BNC Sports has been your local hobby store for over 30 years, and they'll provide their professional assessment and can cash you out. No collection is too big or too small, so don't drop the ball. Stop by the mall or give us a call. BNC Sports, the game starts here.
Good morning. We are just getting your day started here on VTRN Sports with the morning warm-up. Stay connected at Trey Lyle VT and Ty Tracy 90 on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Listen wherever you are with the VTRN Sports app or watch the show live on YouTube at youtube.com/VTRN Sports Lynchburg. Now, back to the morning warm-up.
7:44, almost 7:45 on this Tuesday, March 11th. Welcome to the morning warm-up. My name is Trey Lyle. Joining me now, if you're watching the stream, you can see his just majestic face, his beautiful face. Dalton Hopkins, frontstretch.com, my co-host on the Happy Hour podcast. Tune in 7:30 live on the Front Stretch YouTube page, youtube.com/frontstretch. We have a very special guest tonight. We have Josh Bilicki, the NASCAR Xfinity Series driver, joining us. It's going to be fun. I think if you maybe are on Twitter, NASCAR Twitter, you might know why we might have Josh Bilicki on for his feuding with one Chris Wright. But we won't get to that till tonight. Dalton, thanks so much for getting up with us. I hope you're doing well. But let's dive into Phoenix. So Christopher Bell wins 3 straight. First one to do it in the next gen car. What do you think that means about Bell in terms of becoming the first one to do something like this in an era in which NASCAR is emphasized parity?
You know, I'm not really looking a whole lot at the last time somebody's won 3 straight was Kyle Larson. I don't really care a whole lot about that. What I really care about is the last time somebody won 3 straight at the beginning of this early in the season, which was Kevin Harvick back in 2018. And I think we all remember how well Kevin Harvick did in 2018. He went on to win, and I'm going to look at the stats right here if this loads in time. He went on to win 8 races in 2018, which is just a staggering feat, even back then with the Gen 6 car. So I'm not entirely sure if we'll get the same kind of dominance from Christopher Bell. I don't think we will. It's the next gen car, but you also have to look at the 2 races that he did win, and being Atlanta, which, let's face it, he was never going to win that race if it weren't for the chaos that occurred on the last lap. And then he also won COTA, which I think I would argue isn't necessarily his best track either. So there is a level of luck involved in winning those first 2 races, but there is no doubt in my mind that we have a real honest-to-God shot at getting 4 wins in a row with Christopher Bell, and being the first time somebody's done that since 2007 with the one and only Jimmy Johnson. So this is definitely – I don't think we're going to get the level of dominance out of Christopher Bell that we've seen out of past guys who've won 3 in a row, like Kyle Larson in 21, like Kevin Harvick in 2018. But I do think – right, we are looking at something that could be the start of what may be a championship run in 2025.
Looking at Christopher Bell, how much of this run is influenced by last season and how last season ended? Because there is a real argument that he got screwed last year, whether you believe he did the Ross Chastain move or not at Martinsville and got kicked, essentially NASCAR kicking him out of the championship for. How much of an influence is that playing into the way he's driving at the start of this season?
More than a lot of people think, actually. I think look at Phoenix last year, the championship race last year. I mean, he ran really well. I mean, I think he actually was probably faster than some of the championship 4 drivers. I mean, Joey Logano, of course, ended up winning, but that's Joey Logano at Phoenix, right? But Christopher Bell was on most of the race, like he was up there in contention with the championship 4. I would say even faster than guys like Tyler Reddick and William Byron. So it was very obvious that he was very passionate about what happened last year, and that has reinvigorated him this year. I don't know if that is alone what has carried him into 3 straight wins, like I said, but he is, like I said, the last 2 races with Coda and Atlanta, there was some luck factor involved, but there is no doubt in my mind, however, that we are looking at probably the strongest, most energized, most passionate Christopher Bell than we have ever seen in his Cup Series career starting this year. And now we're seeing the results of that. And if this truly is what that is, if this is the result of Christopher Bell, who is more passionate than ever and who wants to win races more than ever, who wants to win a championship more than ever, the rest of the field should be absolutely terrified.
One more question about Bell before we get to the option tires. We're here with Dalton Hopkins at Pit Lane CPT from frontstretch.com. He is my co-host on the Happy Hour podcast. He also writes Thinking Out Loud for frontstretch.com. Joe Gibbs obviously announced, I think this was sneaky big news. Those headlines you see for one day, you're like, oh, that's cool. And then you don't know the effect about it until like midway through the season. But Joe Gibbs announces they're allowing their drivers to race, basically race again, race on dirt. And Bell does the Chili Bowl. He does the Tulsa Shootout before this season. He's sort of indicated that this has been a big help, but just the fact that he's got to go back to his roots during the off season, is that another kind of ingredient to kind of this start?
I mean, I think so. I can't imagine that it would be hurting him. I think it can only be an improvement for Christopher Bell. I mean, he is on the level when it comes to all around racing talent. He's on the level of Kyle Larson. And I think, you saw Kyle Larson's allowed to roam free and rut and do whatever he wants to do and run dirt races and whatever kind of races he wants to do. And Kyle Larson has had better stats of Christopher Bell than Christopher Bell since, going with Hendrick Motorsports in 2021. So I wonder if Joe Gibbs just kind of saw what happened last year and just thought, you know what, maybe we're doing this all wrong. Maybe we need to just go ahead and let Christopher do what he wants to do. And we are seeing some of the fruits of that. Now, I don't think that's the only reason why we're seeing him run as well as he is. And honestly, let's not act like this is going to be the absolute dog run that or the absolute goat run that a lot of people are expecting it's going to be. He looks great for sure. But I don't know if the entirety of it is because he's running more dirt races. I don't know how much he's learning from that. I think really the only thing he can learn is just getting more momentum, getting more confidence, which is great for a guy like Christopher Bell. But you also have to remember that there is an entire team behind him as well. And that team is not traveling with him to dirt races. That team is not traveling with him to do all this, the late model races now, because he's doing that too. So he is one guy on this team, and it's helping him, but the rest of the team is involved in the sport as well. Moving
to the arguably the biggest success of the weekend, the option tire. So we had it showed multiple strategies throughout the race, whether it seemed to be setting up certain people for certain finishes at one point, and then certain you had in my mind, the most cautions we've ever seen in a Phoenix race, like ever in 10. Your overall thoughts of the option tire, and I'll make this a two-parter. So your overall thoughts, first part, and second part, are you of the ilk that they need to have the 2 options, or do you think what Denny Hamlin thinks of just make the option tire a permanent thing and just focus on giving the drivers a soft tire that can wear?
Yeah, see, I disagree with Denny a little bit on that, because I know I agree the tire was better, but I don't think I was interested in it because the tire itself was just a good tire and it was faster and it made the car and it wore out a little bit faster than the primary. I was interested in the tire because it was a differing strategy. I didn't really sit down. And first off, to answer your first question, yes, I think the option tire was a great success, and I think we need to have more of it. And if we're not doing it at every short track from now on, what are we doing? But I like the option tire, not because, like I said, not because it was faster, not because it wore out faster as well. It was because it was a differing strategy. I really enjoyed it. It was like, it's almost like watching like a multi-class race, like the Rolex or another IMSA race. Like, I really enjoyed watching Ryan Preece drive to the field from back to wherever he restarted. I think it was like 30th or 33rd, somewhere way back there, right? And he ends up finishing third in the stage. I love seeing that. I love being at the end of a race in the last 50 laps or so and thinking Ty Dillon might actually have a shot at getting a win here, only because he still has 2 sets of option tires left. So, and everyone else only has 1. So that is incredibly interesting to me. Now, if everyone had an option tire, I don't care anymore, because now everyone else is on the same thing. It's still be the same ending. It would be Denny Hamlin and Christopher Bell at the end, because they would both be on the same strategy. So it's not the tire that was the problem. It was the different number of strategies that we were seeing.
We're here with Dalton Hopkins at Pit Lane CPT, and I'm of the agreement with you. I know we'll probably talk more about this tonight on Happy Hour. I'm going to give you a couple of drivers, and I want you to let me know who should hit the panic button the most. We got Austin Cindric in 32nd, obviously, because of that penalty. Brad Keselowski in 33rd. Ty Gibbs in 34th. Those are all, drivers you would expect, especially Brad and Ty, to be higher in the standings at this point. Who do you think of those 3 should be hitting the panic button the most right now?
Who should be hitting it the most? That is, first off, I'll narrow it down to Austin Cindric and Ty Gibbs. I think Brad Keselowski is going to be fine. We had an article come out last night, actually, by our very own Brian Gable at frontstretch.com, discussing why Brad Keselowski is not in the panic button mode. And also I want to remind everyone that we are still only 4 races in. And 2 of those races were super speedway races, and one of them was a road course. Not entirely indicative of how the rest of the season is going to go. That said, I think when it comes to Austin Cindric, he's now in a really tough spot, because arguably his 2 best chances at winning a race into the playoffs are now gone, because he led most of the laps. I can't remember if it was at both Daytona and Atlanta, but he definitely did it at Atlanta, or it might have been Daytona too, but he was in a chance to win that race, and arguably maybe even should have, but now that chance is gone. I think maybe his only last chance to win is probably going to be Talladega coming up, and I guess Daytona in August. Whereas Ty Gibbs, I feel like there is a chance, at any track. I mean, he's still got a level of talent that he's going to be competitive at many more tracks in the future. I know he's had a rough start to 2025, but he's still in a position where I still have confidence in him. I know Ed Lane's not here, but I swear I'm not sucking up to him or anything like that. But I do feel like that he is still a young talent. He's still a young phenom. It's going to take a while for him to get used to things. Austin Cindric's been around or a little bit, about 1 year longer, if I'm not mistaken, and he just still doesn't imbue me with confidence.
Final question here. We got about a minute and a half, 2 minutes left here in the show, Dalton. Is there someone in these, and I know you mentioned it, it's been, it's only 4 races. Is there someone, obviously outside of Christopher Bell, that has surprised you the most in a positive way to start the year?
Yeah, it's really hard to narrow down at this moment. It's funny. I just sat here and talked about Austin Cindric and how he doesn't imbue me with a whole lot of confidence, but he has surprised me quite a bit, actually. He ran He had moments of brilliance at Phoenix this past weekend, but he also ran up front a lot, like as I just said, at Daytona and Atlanta. So maybe he'll prove me wrong. I'm not sure. But I think out of the usual guys that we're used to seeing, it's kind of hard to narrow down one single person because it's kind of been the same. It's kind of been the usual suspects, right? I mean, Christopher Bell, Tyler Reddick, Ryan Blaney, those guys have been running up front. Kyle Busch, I believe, he's ran pretty well. I think what was an 8th place finish for him at Phoenix. I don't think we were going to see that out of him last year. Arguably should have won COTA. We definitely would not have seen that out of him last year. So there is some improvement there as well.
At Pit Lane CPT on Twitter. Dalton, thanks so much, and I will see you later tonight, my friend.
Sure thing. Always a pleasure. Thanks, Trey.
Thank you. That will do it for Dalton. Ty, good job today.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Before I get out of here, make sure you follow TJ Wilkerson on Instagram. He's covering the ACC tournament for us. So shout out to TJ. It gets kicked off today. 4 o'clock airtime on VTRN Sports for the Hokies as they take on Cal. That will do for today on the morning warm up. We'll be back tomorrow to react to that game and much more. Have a great day, folks.